Picture this, a blind taste test. Professional tasters, 12 bottles of vodka. No labels, no bottles, just clear liquid in identical glasses. At the end, the testers pick their favorite. The winner? A $14 bottle. Grey Goose, the world's greatest vodka, didn't even make the podium. So here's the question nobody in the vodka industry wants you to ask. If you cannot taste the difference in a blind test, what exactly are you paying for? By the end of this video, you will understand the exact 3-step psychological trick that made millions of people across the world, smart people, educated people, people just like you, pay triple the price for something their own taste buds couldn't distinguish from a supermarket bottle. You will see how one man turned nothing into $2.2 billion in cash. And you will walk away with a lens that exposes every premium scam running on you right now. This is not a story about vodka. This is a story about how your brain gets hacked, and how the hackers get paid billions for it. Let's go back to the beginning. 1996. America is in love with premium. Every category has a luxury tier now. Cars, coffee, water. Yes, people are paying $4 for water in a bottle. The idea is simple. Pay more, get more. That logic makes sense for a car, for a laptop, for almost anything where you can actually measure the difference. Here's the problem with vodka. Vodka, by law, by actual legal definition, must be a neutral spirit. That means no distinctive taste, no aroma, no character. The entire point of vodka is that it tastes like nothing. The cleaner, the better. So what happens when you try to sell premium in a category where premium literally cannot exist? Enter Sidney Frank. Sidney is 77 years old in 1996. He walks with a cane. He has a Maybach with a motorized sunroof. And he has already done something nobody thought was possible once before. You know Jägermeister? That syrupy German herbal liqueur that your grandfather used to drink at home alone. Sidney Frank took that bottle, the one collecting dust in immigrant households, and turned it into the hottest shot at every college party in America. He did it by flooding campuses with promotional girls handing out free shots. Not ads, not billboards, human contact. Word of mouth engineered at scale. That worked so well it gave him one insight that changed everything. People don't choose drinks based on taste. They choose based on a story they get to tell about themselves. Sidney stared at the vodka shelf in 1996 and saw a gap. Absolute was king at $17. Everyone else was fighting in the same $10 to $17 lane. Every brand screaming, smoother, cleaner, pure. Same liquid, different font. Sidney didn't want to compete in that lane. He wanted to build a different highway entirely. His move? Launch a vodka at $30. Not because it cost more to make, because $30 was the price of something you don't question. There is a concept in psychology called price anchoring. Think of it like this. Walk into a watch shop. The first watch they show you costs $10,000. Suddenly, the $2,000 watch feels cheap, reasonable, even like a bargain. Your brain uses the first number it sees as a reference point for everything that follows. Sidney understood this before the academic papers were written. Grey Goose would be the $10,000 watch. Now he needed a story. Because here's the thing. Price alone raises eyebrows. Price plus a story raises 0 questions. So Sidney built the story from scratch. He needed 3 ingredients: origin, craft, and mystery. Origin, France. Not Russia, where most vodka came from. France. The country your brain automatically links to Chanel, champagne, and 3 Michelin star restaurants. Just saying made in France on a vodka bottle does something to the human brain that made in New Jersey never could. Craft. François Thibault. A maître de chai, that means master blender, from the Cognac region. Cognac is where the most expensive French brandy comes from. Suddenly, Grey Goose isn't just a vodka. It's practically wearing a beret. Mystery. Champagne limestone. The water used to make Grey Goose, the story went, was filtered through natural limestone from the Champagne region. Does limestone-filtered water change a neutral spirit in any scientifically verifiable way? Nobody asked, because the image was too good to fact-check. Sidney also designed the bottle like a weapon. Frosted glass, Tall, elegant, a goose in flight etched on the side. He shipped it in wooden crates, the kind you associate with fine wine, not alcohol that goes in a plastic handle. When those crates arrived at a bar, the bartender noticed. Customers noticed. It looked important. And here is where Sydney made his most ruthless move. He didn't advertise to customers first. He paid bartenders. Not metaphorically, literally. Grey Goose's sales reps gave bartenders cash bonuses for recommending Grey Goose when a customer asked, "What's good?" Think about what that means. The person behind the bar is the trusted advisor, the expert. When they lean in and say, "Honestly, Grey Goose is what the regulars order," you believe them. Why would they lie? You don't know they just got a bonus for saying your name. A bartender's recommendation feels like a personal favor. It's actually a paid advertisement wearing a human face. Then came 1998. The Beverage Testing Institute, a trade publication that rates spirits, gave Grey Goose a top score. Sydney's marketing team plastered that rating everywhere. Wall Street Journal ads, trade publications, nightclub promotions. Grey Goose was now officially award-winning. Here's the small print nobody read. Competitors later raised serious questions about how that rating came to be. Belvedere Vodka, a rival brand, publicly challenged Grey Goose's #1 tasting vodka claim. Advertising rulings eventually called the marketing language misleading. Regulators quietly intervened, but by the time that happened, it was already too late. Because in September 2000, something happened that no advertising budget could buy. HBO, Sex and the City. A character sitting at a bar orders a Cosmopolitan. Then she looks up and says 5 words. "Make it Grey Goose, please." Not "make it vodka," Grey Goose, by brand name. New York bars reported spikes in Grey Goose orders within a single week. Within 2 years, it was the fastest-growing spirit in America. One fictional character, in one scene, on one television show, did more for Grey Goose than any marketing campaign ever could, and it cost Sidney Frank nothing. This is what marketers call earned media. When your product stops being a product and starts being a cultural reference point, that's when you've won. By 2003, Grey Goose controlled 85% of the entire super premium vodka category in the United States. The super premium category, a category that, to be clear, did not exist until Sidney Frank invented it. Think about that. He didn't enter a market. He built the market, then dominated it. That's like building a new highway and charging everyone else a toll to use it. Now let's talk about what was actually in the bottle. In 2005, the New York Times ran a blind vodka taste test with trained tasters. The results were brutal for the premium category. Smirnoff, which retails for about $13, was described as the hands-down winner. Grey Goose finished far down the rankings. ABC News ran a similar test. Same result. Grey Goose didn't stand out. NPR's Planet Money team did it too. Their conclusion? Most people cannot tell premium vodka from cheap vodka in a blind setting. A more recent industry study found that when consumers rated Grey Goose without knowing what they were drinking, 78% of them still described it as crisp and clean. But, and this is critical, only after they saw the label. The label wasn't on the glass, it was on the table next to them. And the brain did the rest, automatically, without the drinker even noticing. This is called label priming. Your brain fills in the experience it expects. You don't taste what's in your mouth, you taste what you believe is in your mouth. Grey Goose didn't sell vodka, it sold a belief system, and now Sidney Frank had a problem he absolutely did not mind having. Everyone wanted to buy his belief system. June 2004. Sidney is 84 years old. Bacardi, one of the largest spirits companies on the planet, approaches him about acquiring Grey Goose. Negotiations begin. Bacardi pushes back on the price. They want to negotiate lower. Sidney does not raise his voice. He doesn't threaten. He slides a cobalt blue mock-up across the table. He calls it Blue Goose. Same prestige positioning, he says, aimed directly at Bombay Sapphire. Bombay Sapphire is Bacardi's most valuable gin brand, their crown jewel. Within days, Blue Goose trademark filings appeared in industry publications. Distributors started whispering about it. Bartenders asked about pre-orders for a product that didn't physically exist yet. Sidney had just bluffed a multinational corporation with a piece of blue cardboard and a name. Bacardi wired $2.2 billion in cash. Sidney Frank never built a distillery. He made no scientific breakthrough. He created no new flavor. He took a liquid that is legally required to taste like nothing and sold it for $2 billion. Then he gave $100 million of that to Brown University, the school he had dropped out of 6 decades earlier. That detail right there tells you everything about how Sidney Frank saw the world. The story was always the point, and he wrote the ending himself. Now here's what happened next, and the industry did not see it coming. Enter Tito's handmade vodka. Tito Beverage, yes, that's his real name, made vodka in a shed in Texas. He called it handmade. He got a craft spirits license. He priced it low. He had no French heritage, no wooden crates, no bartender bonuses. And slowly, then suddenly, Tito's began outselling Grey Goose. By 2021, Tito's was the best-selling spirits brand in the United States. Not best-selling vodka, best-selling spirit. All categories: beer, wine, whiskey, everything. The consumers who had been conditioned by Grey Goose to pay premium were now flipping to a different story. The underdog American craftsman. Authentic, honest, local. Still a story, still psychology, just a different character. The lesson? It was never about the liquid. It was always about the narrative that fits the moment. And right now, in this exact moment, that same mechanism is running on you in categories you haven't even thought to question. Your gym supplements with the clinical-looking label, the coffee brand that talks about altitude and single-origin farms, the skincare line with the complicated ingredient list and the blacked-out packaging, the airline that calls its economy seats premium economy and charges $180 extra for 4 inches of legroom. Every single one of them learned something from Sidney Frank. Price is not evidence of quality. Price is a story about quality. And once you believe the story, really believe it, your brain rewrites the experience to match. That's not a character flaw. That's just how human perception works. We are all walking around with a brain that was built for a world where expensive usually did mean better, where a bright color on a berry usually did mean it was safe to eat. The shortcuts made sense once. Sidney Frank just figured out how to exploit shortcuts that evolution hadn't updated yet. So the next time you're standing in a bar, or a shelf, or a checkout page, and something is priced higher with a better story attached, pause for 1 second. Ask yourself, am I paying for what's in the bottle, or am I paying for what I want to believe is in the bottle? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of the time, you already know the answer. You just don't want to admit it, because admitting it would mean looking back at every time you bought the story and realizing the story was the only thing that ever existed. And that's not a Grey Goose problem. That is a